Snowstorm winds screamed through Frostvale Ridge. A barefoot girl, no more than 5, fought the drifts, clutching 2 silent bundles to her chest. Her breath came in shards. Her steps blurred beneath the storm. Behind the glass walls of Haven Lighthouse, millionaire Calder lifted his drink, then froze. A faint, frantic knocking cut through the blizzard. When he opened the door, the storm delivered something he never expected his past alive and trembling in the snow. If you want to know what happens next, stay with me until the end of the video. And if you still believe, deep in your heart, that God is always watching over you silently, arranging everything, then, right now, leave a comment saying amen below this video. Because who knows, at the very moment you write those words, a blessing may quietly enter your life. The wind clawed at the mountains like something alive that night. Frostvale Ridge was swallowed by white, each gust scattering snow across the valley until the world itself vanished. In that endless storm, a small girl trudged forward barefoot, her thin arms wrapped around 2 tiny bundles. Her name was Juniper Brooks, and she was 5 years old. The bundles pressed to her chest. Her baby brothers, Orrin and Silas, didn't cry anymore. That scared her most of all. She whispered to them through chattering teeth, her voice nearly lost in the howl of the wind. "Don't sleep, okay? Mommy said we have to keep moving." Every step sank deep into snow that reached her knees. The storm had taken everything: the cabin, the trail, the last trace of warmth. Her jacket was soaked through her mittens, frozen stiff. Somewhere behind her, the cabin roof had collapsed beneath the weight of the snow. Her mother's words echoed again. "If something happens, find your Uncle Calder. He'll help you. He has a house made of glass, a house made of glass." Juniper tried to imagine it, big windows shining light warmth. She didn't know exactly where it was, only that she had to keep going north where the sky sometimes glowed faint green. Mommy had pointed that way once. The snow stung her face like tiny knives. Her breath came in short bursts that turned to ice before her lips. One of the twins whimpered weakly, the faintest sound, and she pressed them closer. "We're almost there," she promised, though she could barely see beyond the blur of white. Time folded in on itself. The world was only wind and whiteness and the dull ache in her legs. Then far ahead, a flicker. Gold. Real light. Her small heart jumped. She blinked hard. Through swirling snow, she saw a long fence of iron, and beyond it a faint glow, the shape of a mansion perched against the storm, its windows glimmering like eyes. Juniper stumbled, half running, half crawling. A frozen branch caught her foot, and she fell, twisting her body to shield the babies. Her knee struck something hard. Pain shot up her leg, but she didn't cry. She had no tears left. Almost there, she breathed again. "Mommy said he's kind. He'll help us." By the time she reached the iron gate, her strength was gone. She beat her fist weakly against the metal, but the wind swallowed the sound. Then, by miracle or mercy, a light blinked on by the doorway far above. She started up the path, each step a battle. The last thing she saw before darkness tilted sideways was that warm, impossible glow pouring from a tall doorway. Inside Haven Lighthouse, Mr. Calder poured himself a glass of whiskey and watched the storm twist across the ridge. The fire hissed behind him. The rest of the house lay in silence. For years, he had learned to love that silence. It was easier than listening to the echo of choices he could never undo. The knock, when it came, was so faint that he almost missed it. A hollow, rhythmic sound beneath the wind. He frowned, setting the glass down. No one came here. Not this late. Not in weather like this. Another knock, softer, desperate. He hesitated only a second longer before opening the door. The storm exploded inward, flinging snow across the marble floor. For a moment, he could see nothing, only whirling white. Then at his feet, a small figure crumpled in the drift, a shock of pale hair, skin blue from cold. "God," Calder whispered. He dropped to his knees. In the child's arms were 2 still shapes wrapped in a blanket. He brushed snow away, felt for a pulse, faint. But there, the girl's lips were purple, her lashes crusted with frost. "Maria," he called instinctively, then corrected himself. "Rosa." No answer. She'd gone to bed early. He scooped the children into his arms and slammed the door shut against the screaming wind. The warmth of the house met the cold like a physical blow. He hurried to the fireplace, laying the twins near the hearth, wrapping the girl in his coat. As he did, something slipped from the blanket, a small silver bracelet, old and dulled by time. He picked it up automatically. The engraving caught the firelight, Property of Lauren Brooks. Calder froze. The name hit him like ice water, Lauren. The sister he hadn't seen in 10 years. The sister whose name he hadn't said aloud since the fight that tore their family apart. He looked down at the child, her hair, the same pale gold, her small face hauntingly familiar. For a long moment, he couldn't breathe. Then the little girl stirred, lips trembling. Her voice came out in a whisper, cracked but certain. "Are you Uncle Calder?" He felt something in his chest crack open, the sound of the past returning. "Yes," he managed barely a breath. "I'm Calder." The firelight flickered over the three of them, snow-melting water pooling on the floor, the sound of the storm beyond the glass like the heartbeat of another world. Outside, winter raged on. But inside Haven Lighthouse, for the first time in years, warmth had found a way in. Morning came shyly to Haven Lighthouse. The storm had slowed to a whisper, the glass walls fogged by the meeting of cold and warmth. Inside, the first thing to move was the fire crackling, brighter, feeding on silence. Dr. Calder Holt sat on the rug before it, coat draped over a sleeping child. The twins, Orrin and Silas, were small bundles of breathing again, cheeks pink instead of blue. The girl stirred beneath the coat, lashes trembling. When her eyes opened, they went straight to the flames. "You're safe," Calder said quietly. Her voice was faint, uncertain. "Are you Uncle Calder?" "I am," he replied. A flicker of relief crossed her face. "Mommy said you'd help us." Calder looked away, his chest tightening. "Mommy said." The words broke something he'd tried to keep sealed for 10 years. He asked softly, "What's your name?" "Juniper Brooks." "Juniper," he repeated, tasting it like a memory. "That's a brave name." Footsteps hurried behind him. Rosa Vega, still in her robe, froze when she saw them. "Senor Holt, children, they were outside," he said. Rosa knelt at once, touching Juniper's forehead, then the twins. "Cold but alive." "I'll warm milk," Calder nodded. As Rosa left, Juniper stared at the fire. "Mommy went to find help," she said suddenly. "She told me to find you if she didn't come back." He swallowed. "When was that?" "When the roof started to fall." Her voice faltered. "She said you'd make us safe, and your father." Juniper hesitated. Eyes on the twins. "He's gone." Nothing more. Rosa returned with a tray, 3 mugs of warm milk toast dusted with cinnamon. The scent filled the room like forgiveness. Juniper sipped carefully, both hands around the cup. Her small face glowed in the firelight, the ghost of frost fading from her skin. Calder watched her, seeing traces of Lauren, the same stubborn chin, the same green eyes that never gave up on anyone. He turned to his desk where a silver bracelet lay. The words engraved along its curve caught the light, "Property of Lauren Brooks." He picked up his phone. Hospitals, directories, old contacts everywhere. He searched, the name appeared and vanished like a shadow. At last he found a number in Seattle and called. Mercy Hill Medical. A tired voice answered. "I'm looking for a patient, Lauren Brooks," he said. The pause felt endless. "She was here last month," the clerk said at last. "Checked herself out. She was very ill. Leukemia." Calder stared at the fire. "Thank you." When he turned, Juniper was sketching on a napkin with charcoal from the hearth. She held it up proudly. "This is Mommy, and that's you." A stick figure with yellow hair smiled beside 3 smaller ones. Written underneath were 4 shaky words. "We are together now." Calder's throat tightened. "That's beautiful. She sings when she brushes my hair," Juniper said, sleepy-eyed. He knelt beside her. "We'll find her, Juniper. I promise." Rosa glanced from the kitchen. "You'll need help." He nodded. "Find me the number for family services in Seattle." While Rosa searched, the house fell quiet again, except for the wind sighing against the glass. Calder moved the twins closer to the hearth. Juniper watched him with solemn trust, her hand finding the edge of his sleeve. The phone rang. Rosa handed it over. "A Ms. Tamsin Lee from Seattle Family Services." Calder answered. "This is Dr. Holt." Her voice was calm, professional. "You're Lauren Brooks' brother, Ja. We've been trying to reach her. She disappeared 3 weeks ago, refused to go back to the hospital. Her condition was worsening." Calder pressed the phone closer. "Do you know where she went?" "She mentioned a small boarding house by the river," Tamsin said. "And a cafe, blue walls, cinnamon smell. She told a worker she was waiting for her brother." He closed his eyes. A blue cafe. The memory flickered Lauren at 19 sketching plans for her dream coffee shop. He almost smiled. "Thank you," he said. When he hung up, Rosa was watching him. "You found her?" "Not yet," he said, "but she's waiting." Juniper had fallen asleep, her cheek resting against his arm. The twins slept 2 breaths even and fragile. Calder looked around the vast gleaming space that had once been his fortress. For years he'd hidden behind glass and silence, convincing himself he didn't need anyone. Now the silence had cracked open, filled with the sound of tiny breaths and the rustle of blankets. He sat for a long time listening. The storm outside was almost gone. Only soft flakes drifted down the windows like feathers after a long battle. Rosa set a pot of coffee beside him. "You'll go after her?" she asked gently. "Yes," he said. "As soon as the road clears." She smiled, weary but kind. "Then maybe this house will finally earn its name." He glanced at her. "Haven Light, see," she said. "A place where light stays." Calder looked toward the sleeping children, the fire reflecting in the glass. For the first time in years, the word home didn't feel foreign. Outside, the valley lay still beneath a silver sky. The storm had passed, but its echo lingered, a reminder of what almost froze and what still could be saved. Inside Haven Lighthouse, the fire burned steady, and a man who had forgotten warmth began to remember it again. By sunrise, the storm had thinned to drifting flakes. Frostvale Ridge glowed pale beneath a silver sky. Inside Haven Lighthouse, warmth clung to the air. Dr. Calder Holt moved quietly through the rooms, packing bottles, blankets, and medicine. For years, he'd filled his hands with precision. Now he filled them with care. Rosa Vega folded a shawl beside him. "Roads are open?" "Mostly. Highway 12 should be clear." She nodded. "Then I'm coming. Those babies need more than your science." He didn't argue. When Juniper Brooks woke, she pressed her palm to the frosted glass. "It's not snowing anymore." "Not here," Calder said, zipping a bag. "But there's more ahead." Juniper looked back at the twins, Oren and Silas swaddled in soft quilts. "Mommy said the snow gets kind after storms." He paused, caught between ache and awe. Maybe she was right. They left as the first light touched the ridge. The SUV growled to life, tires cracking through ice. Rosa sat in the back with the children. Juniper leaned close to the window, tracing shapes in the fog glass. "Where are we going?" she asked. "To find your mother," she nodded, trusting completely. The road wound down through pine forests, branches glittering with frost. The world looked new, rebuilt overnight from silence. Calder kept his eyes on the asphalt, the mountain's sharp turns demanding focus, but his thoughts strayed to Lauren laughter in summer air, the argument that ended everything, the letter he never answered. At the valley station, he filled the tank. Rosa changed the twins while Juniper studied a row of candy bars. Calder bought her one. "Can I save half for Mommy?" she asked. Of course. They drove on headlights carving a path through white. The silence in the car was gentle now, held together by the rhythmic hum of the engine. Near noon, they reached a small diner with a fading sign, Maggie's Place. Inside smelled of coffee and syrup. The waitress, round and kind, grinned when she saw the children. "Snow travelers. Haven't had many this week." Rosa ordered pancakes. Calder black coffee. Juniper ate carefully, syrup glistening on her fingers. When the waitress returned, he showed her a photo of Lauren. The woman studied it. "Can't say I've seen her, but there's a cafe by the river. Blue Wall cinnamon smell. Folks call it the Blue Finch." Calder met Rosa's eyes. It matched what Tamsin Lee had said. They set out again. Outside, flakes had returned light, aimless. The mountains fell away, giving rise to gray sprawl. As evening approached, Seattle shimmered ahead, skyscrapers blurring in mist. Juniper pressed her face to the window. "It's so big," Big Rosa said, smiling. "But even big places hide small miracles." The Bluefinch Cafe waited by the Sammamish River, its paint bright against the winter gloom. A bell chimed when they entered. The air smelled of cinnamon and warm bread. Behind the counter, a young barista looked up, surprise softening her face. "Welcome," she said. Calder stepped forward. "We're looking for someone, Lauren Brooks." He showed the picture again. Recognition flickered. "She came in maybe 3 weeks ago," the barista said. "Sat by that window, ordered tea. She looked peaceful, like someone waiting for good news." Juniper's eyes widened. "Did she say anything?" "She said her brother would find her," Calder's breath caught. The barista reached under the counter and pulled out a folded napkin. She left this. He unfolded it. Pencil lines 3 children under a shining star. Underneath, in Lauren's uneven handwriting, "Find home, no matter the storm." Juniper clutched the drawing. "It's Mommy's." Calder nodded and unable to speak. The barista added softly, "She mentioned going to Mercy Hill Hospital. She was very tired." He thanked, her voice thin. Outside, dusk had deepened. Snow turns to rain. Rosa settled the twins back into their seats while Calder helped Juniper with her coat. "Is Mommy there now?" Juniper asked. "I hope so," he said. "We'll see soon." As they drove through the city, lights shimmered on wet streets, reflections stretching like ghosts of color. Juniper dozed, the napkin still in her hand. Rosa hummed softly to keep the babies calm. Calder drove on each mile, closing the gap between regret and forgiveness. At a red light, he glanced in the mirror. The children slept the same rhythm of breath Lauren once had when she'd fallen asleep during late-night study sessions. For years, he'd told himself he was too busy, too proud to reach out. Now pride seemed smaller than a snowflake melting on glass. Downtown signs gave way to hospital lights ahead, Mercy Hill white against the night. He slowed, heart pounding. "Hold on, Lauren," he whispered. "We're almost there." Rosa looked up. "You think she'll know you came?" He managed a faint smile. "She always knew before I did." The SUV turned into the parking lot. Snow mixed with rain falling slow and steady like ash. The world outside blurred into silver and shadow. Inside, Juniper stirred and whispered without opening her eyes. "Mommy's waiting." Calder parked beside the entrance. The wipers stopped. For a moment, everything stood still. The storm, the city, even the air between heartbeats. He reached over, brushed Juniper's hair from her forehead and said quietly, "Then let's not keep her waiting any longer." He opened the door, the cold rushing in, but this time it didn't feel cruel. It felt like the breath of a story finally ready to begin again. The lobby of Mercy Hill Medical Center smelled faintly of antiseptic and pine. A small Christmas tree blinked near the reception desk, its colored bulbs reflected on the waxed floor. Dr. Calder Holt hesitated beneath the glow snow still clinging to his coat. Visiting the nurse asked, eyes kind but cautious. "Looking for a patient," he said. "Lauren Brooks, she was admitted recently." The nurse checked her screen, then nodded. "Room 314, East Wing. She's stable this morning." The words hit like sunlight after too much dark. Calder thanked her and turned. Rosa Vega followed with Juniper Brooks beside her, the twins cradled in carriers. The hallway shimmered with tinsel and quiet carols from a ceiling speaker. Juniper's steps echoed softly. "Is Mommy awake?" she whispered. "I hope so," Calder said. When they reached the door, he paused, hand on the handle. For 10 years, he'd avoided this moment, too proud to forgive, too afraid to remember. Now a single turn of the knob could rewrite everything. He opened it. Sunlight spilled through half-closed blinds, painting stripes across white sheets. The woman in the bed was thin hair, pale against the pillow. Yet when her eyes opened, green bright, impossibly alive, he forgot to breathe. "Lauren," he said, her lips curved faintly. "Calder, you came." It wasn't accusation, only wonder. He stepped closer. "I should have come sooner." Juniper broke free from Rosa's hand and ran forward. Mommy Lauren's arms trembled but held. "My brave girl," she whispered, pressing her face to her daughter's hair. "You found him." "She did more than that," Calder said softly. "She saved them all." Lauren's gaze shifted to the bassinets where Orrin and Silas slept. Tears blurred her smile. "They look like him," she murmured. "But thank God they're safe." Calder pulled a chair beside the bed. For a long moment, no one spoke. The hum of monitors filled the quiet like a heartbeat. Finally, Lauren said, "I didn't know where else to go. The treatment stopped working, and I couldn't leave them with—" She trailed off. Rosa touched her hand gently. "You did right, Karita." Calder leaned forward. "A social worker named Tamsin Lee helped us find you." Lauren's eyes softened. "Jasmine, no Tamsin. Yes, she was kind. I told her my brother would forgive me someday." He looked away, the voice rough. "You were right." Outside the window, snowflakes drifted past the glass like slow-falling stars. The world seemed to pause. Juniper climbed onto the bed, nestling beside her mother. "Mommy, are you coming home with us?" Lauren brushed her daughter's cheek. For a little while in here, she touched Juniper's heart. Always there. Calder swallowed hard. Don't talk like that. We'll get the best doctors. Lauren's smile was calm, almost amused. Still the fixer, huh? Some things aren't for fixing, some are for learning. He bowed his head. Words failing, Rosa quietly wiped her eyes with her sleeve. A soft knock interrupted them. The door opened just enough for a woman to step in, Tamsin Lee carrying a folder. Dr. Holt, yes, he said, standing. She smiled gently at Lauren. I came to check on you and to confirm temporary guardianship papers. Lauren nodded. They'll stay with Calder. Tamsin placed the documents on the tray table. Once you sign, it's official. I'll handle the court filing after the holiday. Lauren's hands shook as she reached for the pen. Thank you. Juniper watched solemn and silent as her mother signed each page. Calder added his own signature beside hers. The ink gleamed wetly under the fluorescent light, sealing a promise made long before this day. When Tamsin left, Rosa took the twins to the nursery lounge. The room grew quiet again, holding only the faint rhythm of monitors and the whisper of falling snow. Lauren sank back against the pillows. You always hated hospitals, she said. I still do, but you came anyway. He took her cold hand. You're my sister. For a while they said nothing more. Juniper hummed softly, rocking one twin in her arms the way she'd seen Rosa do. The child's calm steadied the room. Lauren watched them, her expression peaceful. They'll grow up strong, she whispered. Promise me, Calder. Keep them together. I promise. Teach them kindness, she added, smiling faintly. That's harder than medicine. He laughed quietly through tears. You never change. She closed her eyes, her fingers still laced with his. Good. Then maybe you finally did. He sat there until her breathing steadied, until sleep softened her features. Outside, carolers' voices drifted from the courtyard, fragile, hopeful notes carried on winter air. Juniper leaned against his arm. Uncle Calder. Yes, Mommy's getting better now, right? He looked at the sleeping woman, at the lines of strength and surrender etched across her face. She's resting, he said gently. That's the first step. Juniper nodded, satisfied, and curled against her mother's side. The monitor beeped softly, steady and sure. Calder leaned back, an exhaustion washing through him, but for the first time in years, his heart felt light. The hospital lights flickered gold against the snow, and somewhere down the hall, someone began to sing Silent Night. Outside, Christmas morning dawned pale and tender. Inside room 314, the past and present finally shared the same quiet peace. Night settled over Mercy Hill Medical Center, quiet except for the steady hum of machines and the distant squeak of nurses' shoes. Snow pressed against the windows like white fog. Inside room 314, a small lamp cast a circle of golden light. Doctor. Calder Holt sat by the bed, half awake, listening to his sister breathe. Lauren Brooks slept deeply, her skin pale but peaceful. Juniper Brooks curled beside her, one small hand resting on the blanket, as if guarding her mother's dreams. A knock broke the stillness. Tamsin Lee entered, holding a folder. Evening, she whispered. Sorry to disturb. I have the guardianship papers finalized. Calder rubbed his eyes. Thank you. You've done more than you know. Tamsin smiled. Sometimes paperwork saves lives. She laid the folder on the table, smoothing its edges. I'll file these tomorrow, but you both should sign tonight. It's better if no loose ends remain. Lauren stirred, blinking herself awake. Is it time? Yes, Tamsin said gently. Calder helped her sit up. Her fingers trembled as she signed each line. You'll take care of them, she said softly. With everything I have, Calder answered. When Tamsin left, quiet returned until another knock came, firmer, colder. The door opened before Calder could respond. A man stepped in, his shoes echoing against the tile. His coat was tailored, his smile sharp. Damien Cross. Visiting hours are over, Calder said evenly. Damien's eyes swept the room. I'm not a visitor. I'm their father. Lauren's body tensed. No, she whispered. You need to leave. He ignored her, glancing at the sleeping children. You ran away, Lauren, took my sons, my daughter. Calder stood. They're safe here. Damien's tone turned mocking. Safe with a man who vanished from his own family. For a decade, Lauren's voice wavered but didn't break. You don't get to talk about family after what you did. For a heartbeat, silence filled the room, heavy as snowfall. Damien smirked. I just want what's mine. What's yours? Calder said, voice low. Children aren't property. Lauren clutched the blanket. You hurt us, Damien. Juniper saw. He hesitated, the mask slipping for half a second. I was angry. You were cruel, Calder snapped, then steadied his tone. Leave before security is called. Damien laughed softly. You think paper will keep me out? Tamsin appeared in the doorway, calm as ever. Actually, yes. She held up a document stamped with a seal. Emergency protective order filed tonight. Temporary custody transferred to Dr. Holt under state supervision. Damien's smile vanished. I can... Tamsin interrupted. And the police are on their way to ensure it stays that way. The sound of footsteps echoed down the hall. 2 security officers approaching. Damien's face hardened. You'll regret this. No, Calder said quietly. I already regret enough. The officers stopped behind him. Sir, you will need to come with us. Damien hesitated, his gaze flicking to Lauren, then to the sleeping children. Whatever he saw there, fear, pity, indifference, made him turn away. Without another word, he let himself be escorted out. The door closed. The sound of his shoes faded down the corridor. Calder exhaled slowly, the adrenaline leaving him in a wave. You all right? Lauren nodded weakly. He won't stop, you know. Tamsin adjusted the blanket. He'll have no legal ground now. The reports you filed, the photos, your testimony, it's enough. Lauren looked at her, exhausted but grateful. Thank you. It's my job, Tamsin said softly. But tonight you did the hard part. Rosa appeared carrying 2 cups of tea. She had heard enough from the hallway to understand. Is he gone? For good, we hope, Calder said. Rosa set the cups down and brushed Lauren's hair back. Then drink Kurita. Warmth helps courage grow. Lauren smiled faintly. I think we've all earned some of that. The room eased into quiet again. Juniper stirred, blinking sleepily. Is Mommy okay? Calder knelt beside her. She's fine. We're all fine. Was that man the bad one? She asked softly. He hesitated. He was someone who forgot how to be kind. Juniper nodded as if she understood. Mommy said people who forget can still learn. Calder smiled. She's right. Tamsin gathered her papers, sliding them neatly into her folder. I'll be back tomorrow to confirm the filing, she said. You're officially their guardian now, Dr. Holt. Thank you, he murmured. After she left, Lauren's strength seemed to fade. She leaned back against the pillows, eyes half closed. It's strange, she said quietly. Paper signatures, seals, and suddenly the world feels safe. Calder took her hand. Sometimes safety starts on paper. The rest we build ourselves. She smiled. Then promise you will keep building. I promise. Outside, snow kept falling softer now, as if the storm itself were exhaling relief. Inside room 314, the lamp's glow wrapped around them like shelter. Juniper climbed into her uncle's lap, resting her head on his shoulder. You're not leaving again. Right, not ever, he said. Lauren's eyes filled but didn't spill. The monitor hummed its steady rhythm. Rosa hummed a lullaby, low and sweet, until even the machine seemed to quiet. By midnight, the world beyond those hospital walls had grown still. No shouting, no fear. Just the sound of breathing, the sound of paper rustling softly on a bedside table. Proof that sometimes courage doesn't roar. It signs its name and stays. Winter lingered long over Frostvale Ridge. The snow no longer howled. It drifted softly like the world was learning to breathe again. Inside Haven Lighthouse, the rooms glowed with quiet life. Toys dotted the floor, laughter echoed faintly down the hall, and the fire never seemed to die. 6 months had passed since that night in the hospital. Lauren Brooks was gone and laid to rest beneath a birch tree, overlooking the frozen lake she'd once loved. On calm mornings, Dr. Calder Holt carried a cup of coffee to her resting place, speaking softly to the wind. He told her about the children's first words, the messes they made, the peace she'd left behind. The ache never truly left, but it changed, became gentler, lighter, something he could live beside. Inside, Juniper Brooks chased her brothers across the marble floor. Orrin and Silas, now crawling fast, giggled as Rosa Vega pretended to chase them. The woman who had once been housekeeper had become something more, a grandmother in all but name. Careful, pequeños, she called. No running near the fire. Juniper stopped only long enough to scold the twins. Mommy says we have to listen. Calder smiled from the doorway, the sound of them softening every sharp edge inside him. For years, he believed silence was peace. Now he knew better. Peace was noise made by love. That evening, the northern sky shimmered green and gold, the aurora early this year. Rosa gasped from the kitchen window. Look, the heavens are dancing. Juniper ran outside, bundled in a red coat, arms wide. Uncle Calder, hurry! He joined her on the porch, the twins safe in Rosa's arms. The cold bit his skin, but he barely felt it. Above them, light rippled like silk across the stars. Mommy said when the sky dances, angels are watching, Juniper whispered. He knelt beside her. Then your mom's watching right now. Do you think she's happy? Calder looked at the children, the glowing house behind them, and the silver bracelet still on his wrist. Yes, he said, more than happy. They stood there together, breath rising in small white clouds until the lights faded back into night. Weeks became months. The house transformed further. One wing turned into a children's library, painted sky blue. The study became a playroom filled with blocks and laughter. Calder volunteered twice a week at Mercy Hill, helping families who'd lost someone to illness. He named the outreach program the Lauren Foundation. People asked him why. He always answered the same way. Because one woman taught me that forgiveness builds stronger walls than stone. On quiet nights after the twins slept and Rosa's soft humming drifted through the hall, Calder sat by the fire with Juniper curled beside him. She would tell stories her mother used to invent about travelers who found their way home, about storms that ended in light. Mommy said stories fixed broken parts, she'd whisper. She was right, he'd answer. One night a soft knock echoed through the hall. Calder opened the door to find a young social worker standing there, cheeks flushed from cold. She handed him a small envelope, a crayon drawing from another child the foundation had helped. 3 stick figures stood beneath a bright sky. At the bottom, in uneven letters, it read, "Thank you for finding families." Juniper peeked around his arm. "It looks like us," she said. Calder smiled, feeling warmth rise through the chill. "Then let's keep helping." He closed the door, the firelight spreading behind him. Outside, snow fell lightly over the ridge, covering the world in silence again. But this silence was alive, filled with laughter, memory, and the steady pulse of second chances. Inside Haven Lighthouse, love had found its way home. Today's story comes to an end, but its echo still lingers in the heart. What do you think? Give us a score from 1 to 10 and feel free to share a few words in the comments. Every voice here is valued and heard. Before you go, let me ask you gently, are you doing okay today? If your heart feels heavy, let this place be a quiet corner where you can share and find comfort. See you again in the next bedtime story, where love and hope remind us that no matter how dark the night may seem, kindness will always prevail.